ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس واتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد إن خير الحديث كتاب الله خير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها إن كل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد, inshallah, today we will discuss how the Muslims can improve themselves and impact the society which we live in. It has two parts to it. In the first part, which will be elaborated inshallah, the lessons derived from Hajj, how can that transform the lives of Muslims? And second part, briefly, in addition to the spiritual aspect of the religion, what else could be done and should be done that we can have a positive impact in the society, thereby the dawah continues of this deen. The first part, most importantly, how can we derive lessons out of Hajj? So first, about the ahkam of Hajj. يقول الله عز وجل إن أول بيت وضع للناس الذي ببكة مباركا وهدى للعالمين فيه آيات بينات مقام إبراهيم ومن دخله كان آمنا ولله على الناس حج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا ومن كفر فإن الله غني عن العالمين. Surah Al-Imran, Surah number 3, verse number 96 and 7. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about the injunction, the obligation of making Hajj. But He did not start with that. He gave a description of the house where I'm going to make Hajj. What is the description of that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the first house in this dunya, built, dedicated for the only purpose of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَلَّذِي بِبَكَّةِ Yani Mecca. The house built, the oldest house dedicated for the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal, it was in Mecca. So what is the specialty of this house? Allah says, فِيهِ آيَاتٌ بَيِّنَاتٌ. There are clear signs. Now, when we human talk about signs, we're talking about tangible signs. Like take a left turn, take a right turn, Highway 280, Garden State Parkway. These are the signs we are talking about as human. And Allah Azza wa Jal is not talking about literal signs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about signs which takes some thinking, some reflection, some analysis that we can benefit from it. What is the evidence? يقول الله عز وجل إنها لا تعمى الأبصار ولكن تعمى القلوب التي في الصدور. It is not the blindness of their eyes, rather the blindness of their heart, that they fail to see the signs of Allah Azza wa Jal. Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab understood the Arabic language, the dialect of Mecca, because they are from Mecca. They are Quraysh. They are the relative of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yet, they did not get the message of religion. ولكن Bilal al-Habashi radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, Salman al-Farsi, people come from distant land, got the light of the religion. So it is not the language, it is not the culture, it is not the vicinity of a prophet, rather the cleanness of the heart, purity of the heart that allowed them to absorb the signs of the religion. So coming back to the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah says, فِيهِ آيَاتٌ بَيِّنَاتٌ. They have clear signs. For example, Maqam Ibrahim. The station of Ibrahim, we'll touch it later inshallah. وَمَنْ دَخَلَهُ كَانَ آمِنًا. This is a house, has signs, in which people get into it, they're safe and secure. This is the only house in Haram that if I get into it, I'm safe and sound. Then Allah, upon describing the greatness of the house, then He said, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حَجِّ الْبَيْتِ. Such greatness of this house, you should come to that house. Man istata'a ilayhi sabila. Those who are capable to do so. Allah doesn't impose upon a servant which they cannot do. In each of the ayat, we can go hours going to details of it and fiqh of it, so on and so forth. But again, we don't have the time for it. So Allah says, Man istata'a ilayhi sabila. La yukallifullah nafsan illa us'aha. Allah doesn't burden his soul, the person cannot bear it. Therefore, if somebody cannot go, doesn't have the money, doesn't have the health, and so on and so forth, do not have to go. But those who are capable to do so, they must come to the house of Allah Azza wa Jal to perform the Hajj. And whoever to stay arrogant to submit to Allah, وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ عَنِ الْعَالَمِينَ. This woman kafara is not only for Hajj. Woman kafara is for Salah. Woman kafara for Hajj. Woman kafara for Hijab. Woman kafara for Ghiba. For every aspect of the religion, where Allah has certain injunction, certain command, if I am too arrogant to comply with it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say He is above the need of His creation. He is independent of His creation. Inna Allah huwa al-ghani. And many ayat in the Quran, Antumul fuqara ila Allah wallahu huwa al-ghani. We are beggars in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah is the rich, al-ghani. So therefore, Allah is independent from His creation. If I go to make Hajj, and if I don't, it is irrelevant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it is absolutely relevant and important to me. So next point here is, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to make Hajj, we need to realize that this Hajj has some other benefits associated with that. Today's discussion is not about the fadail of Hajj, rather the lessons from Hajj. Anyhow, this hadith came in Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim, whoever makes Hajj and this is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their reward is nothing but paradise. We have to touch base on that a little later. And the hadith came in Ahmed Abu Dawud, whoever is capable of doing Hajj should rush to do it in case I don't get a second chance to do it. So you should try to rush it to do it, inshallah. Now coming back to our point about Hajj. Many people have this notion that just I made Hajj, that makes me go into paradise. We hope for that, inshallah, but that may not be the case all the time. Why not? Because Hajj has some requirements, some shurut to be fulfilled. One of them, there is some difference of opinion upon this. I'm not going to go in detail on that. That if the income is not halal, will the Hajj be accepted? There's a difference of opinion in that. But beside the point, يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله طيب لا يقبل إلا طيبا كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Allah is pure, doesn't accept anything but pure. the purity of the wealth is a precondition, according to majority of the scholars, that to make Hajj. There is another text and evidence. One person will ride his mount to go to the Hajj. He will say, Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, Allah says, La labbaik. Allah will not accept his presence or her presence due to the deficiencies person brought with him or her in the process of doing the Hajj. So we need to get our acts together, prepare for it before we go to the Hajj, inshallah. So this is the introduction to Hajj. Now what are the lessons of Hajj? Hajj includes many manasik, many different rituals. For example, Ihram. For example, Tawaf, Sa'i, Ukuf al-Arafah, Jamarat, so on and so forth. So we're going to touch few of them, inshallah, starting from the issue of Ihram. What is Ihram? It is apparent to us, it is the white garment. White garment is not the Ihram. It is a state of the mind and the body. That is Ihram. White garment is a manifestation of Ihram. So the mindset of the person changing state from one state to another state, what that's supposed to mean. A person coming to Hajj, crossing the Miqat. What is Miqat? Some of the boundaries established by Allah. Why so? Because He wanted that way too. Inna Allah yafalu ma yurid. He does whatever He pleases. He doesn't ask permission. He doesn't consult others. Because Allah is Malik al-Mulk, Jabbar al-Samawati wal-Ard. He is the one in charge, the creator, the sustainer. His decisions are not challenged, but complied with. So when Allah Azza wa Jal said, these are the miqat, meaning these are the boundaries. If I want to go to Hajj, when I cross them, I must change my state. What difference does it make if I go 20 foot inwards? Because Allah said, this is my boundary. If you are a servant of Allah, must comply with it. يقول الله عز وجل تلك حدود الله فلا تعتدوها. These are the boundaries of Allah. Do not approach them. Do not cross them. So Allah Azza wa Jal give boundaries, including act of ibadat, including Hajj. If I cross it, I must change my state. What do I mean by change of state? Some of the things were halal for me few minutes ago, now they are not haram, halal anymore. How that is possible? Cutting nail is nothing haram about that. Using deodorant is nothing haram about that. So why Allah made it haram? Inna Allah yaf'alu ma yurid. Allah does whatever He pleases. He put rules in a place and time He fits is appropriate from His perspective. And as servants of Allah Azza wa Jal, we just comply with it. Why zakah is 2.5%? Why not 2.7%? Because Allah decided so. Why men are the imam, not the sisters and imam? Because Allah decided so. Why Allah made Mecca haram, not Jordan haram? Because Allah wanted to do so. This is something very simple, very basic and fundamental, yet we try not to understand the depth of these statements. When a servant of Allah understand that Allah makes hukum and we are to comply. I don't have to like it, but I have to comply with it. This is called taslim, submission. The stage of somebody become Muslim is through taslim, through submission. I sign up to submit to Allah. Then slowly but shortly, the faith grows with knowledge and understanding, so on and so forth. As in Surah Al-Hujurat, Surah number 49, when a Bedouin came to Prophet ﷺ, said, I have faith. Kulu amanna. Allah said, tell them, don't say I have faith. So Kulu aslamna. وَلَمَّ يَدْخُلُ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. That say that I just submitted. The faith yet did not grow in my heart. There is a process of growing the faith. Learning, studying, and reflecting. And learning cannot be done. يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إنما العلم بالتعلم كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Knowledge is by learning. There must be educational sessions, forums through which Muslim continuously learns and grow. I will touch that in the second part of the khutbah, how important the educational aspect of it. طيب, coming back to Ihram. So what is another lesson of Ihram? Another lesson of Ihram is this: what was halal for me a few minutes ago, fundamentally it is halal even now, except I committed to do some good deeds, meaning Hajj, and Allah says if you cross this boundary, you cannot do such things, even though they're halal. So that trains me to abstain from even the halal. So obviously this should be easier for me to withhold from the haram. Let me repeat this. If it is easy for me through the process of Hajj, even in Ramadan, the patience, eating beef steak is halal. halal ones, obviously. A day of Ramadan, I cannot eat it, even though it was halal 11 months. But Allah made it a special month, so I withhold from it. I train myself with patience, even to give up the halal. So it should be much easier for me to give up the haram when the time comes. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to understand and benefit from it. Right. After Ihram, when you go to Hajj, you have to do tawaf, you have to do maqam Ibrahim, you make to raqa. So Allah said, وَاتَّخَذُوا مِن مَقَامِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مُسَلَّى. Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah number 2. Take the station of Ibrahim as a place of prayer. Why Ibrahim is so important, alayhi salatu salam? Allah told him, وَاتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ خَلِيلًا. This ayat is fascinating at the least to say. Every ayat of the Quran is fascinating. And this one even more fascinating. Because Allah, Rabbul Izzati wal Jalal, He is making a claim about His creation. It is not other way around. And let me give you an example. If I say, I know the President of the United States, he's my friend. So I can make any claim I want, that's fine. But when the President of the United States come in the news conference and says, he's my friend, that's a public declaration with a lot of weight. Allah, the Rabbul Izzah, He says, I took so-and-so as my friend. And there's only claim in the Quran, exclusive by Allah Azza wa Jal. So what this man do, alayhi salatu salam, that the Lord of the worlds had to claim that he is my friend. This is fascinating. And I see back in days when I used to take train in New York, I used to see people read books, how to be a billionaire. I see people reading books, how to be a billionaire. In the book, they find the traits of a billionaire so they can follow their footsteps to be a billionaire. I don't think that works, but the people are still trying. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls somebody as my friend. I am going to read his bio. I am going to read his history. I'm going to read his lifestyle. What good deeds he did that Allah is so pleased, had to claim that he is my friend. We cannot go in details. Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, it itself is a story for hours. In short, in Surah Maryam, Surah number 19, when Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam gets the dawah. Ya abati inni qad ja'ani min al-ilm ma lam ya'tik fattabini ahdika siratan sawiyya. Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam got the knowledge of this religion, calling to his father who is ignorant, who is a mushrik. Come to me, my father. I will guide you to the religion. How? Inni qad ja'ani min al-ilm, because knowledge came to me. So one of the lessons derived, we can go on and on, that one of the lessons derived out of it, that knowledge is a precondition for da'wah. قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني. This is the path I call people towards Allah Azza wa Jal, with clear insight and knowledge. So knowledge is key element. So all of us need to really push hard, make it an everyday practice to increase our base of the knowledge. Knowledge limit is the sky and our death. These are the two limits. We are going to die, so we're never going to reach the sky, but we're going to do our best effort to continue to grow in this religion and make this a priority in my life rather than a secondary objective. This should be a priority in my life rather than a secondary objective. I am not an imam. That's not an argument. Why not? Because imam dies and I'm going to die too. I have to answer it from Allah Azza wa Jal. More I know about the mechanics, the details of Yawm al-Hisab, the grave, and the fine details of Day of Judgment, more I will be prepared for it. It's nothing to do with my credentials, nothing to do with my job. It is about my success in Day of Judgment. So one of the preconditions that each of us need to spend a lot of time in learning the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that is an example from life of Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam. Next point, if you ask the shabab of this ummah, the youth, and people old like me ask too, you can ask them about a soccer player, baseball player, basketball player. They're going to give you all the names, one after another, and their score, when they retired, what team they played for. Fine detail, the tahfiz is strong. The memorization is strong. If they ask him, can you tell me what is Surah An-Nahl, what is the number of the surah in the Quran? يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. They're expert in the matter of the dunya. When it comes to religion, they're ignorant. We don't want to be that. This is Surah Rum, Surah number 30, verse number 6. We can be that. So our memorization of the matters of the religion, reflection has to be strong, and the matters of the dunya has to be little. Because akhirah is much longer than dunya. If you do a simple mathematical analysis, If the akhirah alone, for example, 50,000 years, for the sake of argument, يقول الله عز وجل مقداره 50,000 سنة. Just waiting for hisab is 50,000 years. Other ayimmas 1,000 years. There's some details to it. So if it is 50,000 years alone, I live 50 years in this dunya. This is 1 over 1,000. 1 over 10,000. 50 and, 1 over 1,000. That's 0.01%. If that is the life I'm so focused with, what of the day of judgment? So every Muslim must focus that we must increase ourselves in the understanding of religion so we can grow and benefit from it, inshallah. So after Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, for example, you do tawaf 7 times, coming back to the same fundamentals. Why tawaf 7 times? Why not 8 times? Why clockwise? Why counterclockwise? Why not clockwise? Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted that. So I don't challenge the Lord of the worlds. Another thing I must say sounds very dictatorial, like Allah is dictating all the time, sounds very harsh. Let me just clarify the point. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dictates for the welfare of the creation. Allah is not oppressive. Inna Allah laysa bizallamin lil abid. Allah is never oppressive to His creation. He's not. So if Allah says something, it is to my benefit. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah number 2, verse 216. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌّ لَكُمْ وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ أَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, things what you love may not be good for you. And things what you dislike may be good for you. And Allah knows you do not know. What is the premise? Is knowledge. Allah's infinite knowledge allows to make decision being far-sighted, which I cannot see, but He sees subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thereby, decision He says, I may not understand it, but I am to comply it for my benefit. And let me be blunt in this. If I don't even understand and don't think there's benefit, I still have to comply. If I not, Allah Day of Judgment will put me into account, and that will be terrifying. So it is good idea to comply with good understanding with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal give us the tawfiq to do so. Point number 3, people do Safa and Marwa. And you know, and I know, that people go in Safa and Marwa, and today's world, if you go 30 years back, there was no cell phones. So today, people do Safa and Marwa, inna safa wal marwata min sha'irillah, so on and so forth. They read the ayat in the Quran and doing live chat and videos and others. This is an ibadah. This is an ibadah. Akhi, this is, sisters, this is ibadah. Like making salah. I don't broadcast my salah to public. I'm fasting, tell everybody I'm fasting. You should know it. This mindset is not productive. It is not about issue of halal and haram. This is sheer the matters of importance what I'm doing to understand. What is this about? So let us go back to the life and history of this. يقول الله عز وجل إن الصفا والمروة من شعائر الله. Allah said Safa and Marwa is from the signs and symbols of Allah Azza wa Jal. Again, if this is a symbol, what is in there? I don't see it. Then I have to go back to the history to see it. I can't see it like this. I need to go back. What is in the history? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are sha'airillah, these are the symbols. Allah said, وَمَا يُعَذِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ, Surah Al-Hajj, Surah number 22. Allah Azza wa Jal said, whoever respects the symbols and the signs of Allah Azza wa Jal, it is a manifestation of the taqwa of the person, the piety of the person. So whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a symbol to follow, to respect, I should try to do it. One of the way to do it, hear it, that's an act of ibadah. Do it as an act of ibadah, rather than this is just walking around. Why is so important Safa and Marwa? These are symbolic. These are manasik. These are rituals. We don't see the real history behind it. What is the history? You know that Ibrahim alayhi salam had a little baby, son Ismail, and he takes Ismail and Hajar, and as time is short, we need to move fast. Ibrahim and Hajar, he put them in the middle of desert. This hadith is Sahih al-Bukhari, long hadith. So Ibrahim drops Hajar and the baby close to Zamzam, around there. Drops him there, then he takes a U-turn. So Hajar doesn't understand what's going on. It's spontaneous events, so she doesn't know what's going on. She says, Ibrahim, why are you leaving us here? And he could continue walking, giving his back to her. We need to understand these things here. This is a father who was direly wanted a child and did get a child in old age. And suddenly from the blues, Allah Azza wa Jal says, you have to drop them middle of nowhere. Why not next door house? Why not in a locality? Why not another town where people can support them? No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants that way. Inna Allah yaf'alu ma yurid. To understand the depth of this religion, people who paid the definitive price to become close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the manifestation of it. This is the story of a mother, a sister, story of a father, a man. We need to reflect on both at the same time. This is a lesson for the sisters and the brothers. All of us need to reflect on that. Hajar sitting down. Say, Ibrahim, why are you not responding? I'm paraphrasing it. Ibrahim alayhi salam keep walking. Hajar got, in a sense, fed up. Saying this, did Allah Azza wa Jal command you to do so? He said, yes. Now, we all quote these words. Hajar said, if Allah has commanded, He's not going to abandon us. Easily said, very difficult to do it. Easy to say it. Easy to say it. To analyze this point. If somebody dropped me in the Amazon, in the jungle in South America, 2 in the morning, the animals, surrounded by animals, no human localities, I am by myself, no cell phone, right? No cell phone. No protection, except little dates and a bottle of spring water. And on the top of that, I give a small baby to care for. Now see Iman and Tawakkul. Now is easily said, very difficult to do. Now I see the Tawakkul, true faith of the religion. Now I see that how the tahfiz of the Quran is working. Now I want to see how your degree of Islamic studies is really working. Did it produce a result? Did it give a fruit to me? If I really understood the religion. And she understood, she may not have a degree in Islamic study. She must have not did memorization of the holy books. May not be the case. But she understood the essence of the religion. She was left alone, middle of nowhere. No localities, no food, no support, fear, loneliness, and a burden of a child. And she is running between Safa and Marwa looking for some assistance. And I am symbolically doing the same thing. Inna Safa wal Marwata min sha'irillah. I should be doing it and crying. He says, Subhanallah, Allah did not take me through this test. Just by running here, I get the ajr, what Hajar did. This should be reflecting. I should pause in a place and cry. Somebody said, brother, are you okay? Are you exhausted by heat? I said, no, I'm just terrified what the mother went through to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I cannot do the basics of my religion. I cannot do the basics of my religion. And the sister had to go through terrifying experience to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يقول الله عز وجل وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Whoever depends on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is enough. Easy to quote these verses, my brother. I have quoted them many times. I really don't understand what that is. Allah is my witness to it. Easy to talk about religion, to understand the essence of it. Studying book is easy. Putting into the heart and implementing in life in the moment of challenge, that is difficult. And this religion came to transform people who can face this challenge. And we need to do this by understanding the lessons of religious practices, including the Hajj. Now let's talk about Ibrahim alayhi salam quickly. Ibrahim passing by, not having eye contact. We need to remember this. Ibrahim is not having eye contact. It is difficult if I have to leave my family somewhere for no crime of their own. But Allah suddenly wants something. I know He knows what is best for us, but I'm a human. It is difficult. I cannot make eye contact with the baby and the mother, and I'm abandoning them. They're not abandoning me. And I'm turning back. So Ibrahim goes to the corner of the mountain. And now he raises hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is submissive to Allah. He is obedient to Allah. Yet, the pain of the heart he pours back to Allah. ربنا إني أسكنت من ذريتي بواد غير ذي ذر عند بيتك المحرم ربنا ليقيم الصلاة فاجعل أفئدة من الناس تهوي إليهم وارزقهم من الثمرات لعلهم يشكرون. Ibrahim goes in a corner. Now the true pain pours out to Allah Azza wa Jalla. ربنا إني أسكنت من ذري. Allah had left my family in a place. There is no vegetation, no population. Allah, they're by themselves. They're weak. Allah give them some support. Bring people close to them. Make the heart of the people inclined towards them so they could support them. He recognizes the pain and difficulty of them. It's not he's careless about it. He knows, but Allah's command comes first. That is the point. Allah's love comes first before the family and the children and the wife. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, the believers, أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ, they love Allah the most. So the love of the child and the wife and the mother and the parents and the friends comes into play. But the believers say, my love for Allah is much superior than this. So young brothers and sisters, the love for the game, love for a friend on the street, love for this, love for that, which is contradicting the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We must come back to Allah and make a point that my love for Allah is more superior than any other love around, including the love of the dunya. So we need to really understand this message out of the Hajj. Now coming back to Ibrahim alayhi salam, there is two quick points to understand. Ibrahim said, I left them there. Why? لِيُقِيمُ الصَّلَاةِ, so they can establish prayer. I did not live because I'm angry with them. No. I did not leave them there because they're giving me a hard time. I lived them there for an act of worship and ibadah to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Then he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the next verse, he says, وَرْزُقْهُمْ مِنَ السَّمَرَاتِ, Allah gives them sustenance from the fruits and vegetation. Why? لَعَلَّهُمْ يَشْكُرُونَ, so they could be thankful to you. Shukr, thankfulness to Allah is also an act of ibadah. Allah said, فَاذْكُرُونِ أَذْكُرُكُمْ وَاشْكُرُوا لِي وَلَا تَكْفُرُونَ. Shukr is an act of ibadah. So, both cases, for the sake of ibadah, he has abandoned their children. So we need to really listen to this and benefit from it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to do so. The last point in Hajj is about Jamarat and Udhiya and Hadi. So, Ibrahim alayhi salam, long story short, Surah Safat, Surah number 37, you can read through 100 and beyond those ayats. Ibrahim's son grow up, and he suddenly comes to his son, Ya bunayya inni ara fil manam anni adhbahka fanzur madha tara. Ajib. This is the son you abandoned, now he's saying that I'm going to slaughter you. I mean, there must be end to this, continuous one after another. What is this? If I tell this to my son, he says, I'm calling the police on you. And this is a father, and this is a son, a Nabi, another Nabi. It shows, the light shows, even though it's little, from distance the light shows. And he said, Ya abati, if'al ma tu'mar. Do whatever you're commanded to do, including killing me. Satajiduni insha'Allahu min as-sabirin. Here is the point to note. He said, insha'Allahu min as-sabirin. Ismail recognizes this is a difficult point. That's why he brings the issue of sabr and patience. Ismail recognizes this is not easy stuff. He said, you're going to find me patient. So he didn't say, you're going to find me happy. He said, you're going to find me patient. Father and son both recognizes this is difficult. But Allah said, فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَا وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ. Both father and son submitted to Allah Azza wa Jalla. My brother, Allah is not asking me to slaughter my son, only asking them to make good Muslims who stick to the religion upon the right understanding. My sister, Allah is not asking to be abandoned somewhere else. He's asking simply be obedient to the basic matters of the religion and be fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in public and private, and stick to the matters of religion. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله ولي ولكم. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا واسرافنا في امرنا وثبت اقدامنا في الآخرة. إن الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه. Brothers and sisters, please come inwards. There's some space because it's hot out there. I'm going to take 3 more minutes. Please come inwards. It is hot out there. Jazakumullah khairan, ahsanallahu ilaykum. So we discussed about the Hajj, its benefit, how can that should transform our religious aspect of our life. But as human, we have another aspect, which is the social aspect which we live in. We don't live in the masjid. We get recharged in the masjid. But we work outside the masjid. So what we train in the masjid, what we train in the Ramadan, must spread out throughout the year and different places and time. But that is missing. A lot of recitation of the Quran, but when the business aspect of the Muslim comes, with a lot of conflict. 10 Muslims cannot stay together without having 5 groups. You know, so this thing needs to be considered. What is going on with the Muslim Ummah? Needs some change in the psychology of the Muslims. Need to see the big picture. Need to really study and understand and think about this, the global aspect of the religion, which I cannot touch today, but I'm going to point out 3 points that as a community, how can we benefit? 3 points. Number 1, religious aspect has to be done upon the right knowledge, practice, and understanding of our Salaf. That has to be done, period. But another aspect, the social aspect, Muslim Ummah, to go around the world to establish the religion upon the truth and haqq and spread the peace around the lands, it requires us another tool beside being religious, beside memorizing Quran and understanding the fiqh and usul and tafsir. What is it? I need to interact with society. I need to understand the politics, economics, social justice. This requires a strong educational base and background of the Muslims. I am a firm believer on that for many years. I'm not believing that putting tiles in the wall in the masjid, which we don't have, alhamdulillah, that beautifying the masjid. I am about beautifying educational institutions. Muslims have to go to Islamic schools. School has to be top-notch. Has to have ambitious parents, ambitious children, ambitious teacher, and an ambitious facility. All requires, this is called an infrastructure. We've got a lot of resources, a lot of thinking, a lot of vision. Without that, this nation won't rise. If you look at the history in 1500, 1600, 1700, people who colonized other nations, how they did it? Superiority of power. What is power? Muscle? No. Scientific advancement. Scientific advancement. And Muslims are the last in the world in scientific advancement. So you need a good educational background. Muslims' SAT score in high school has to be top. Have to have ambitions. Nobody going to stop unless we finish the terminal education in a field, whatever that is. That requires, this is for the sake of Allah, not my personal income, not for my show off. That is not the objective. Objective is that I'm going to do something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I need this infrastructure to be built. So we should be more focused on developing Islamic school with a strong curriculum, the best teacher, and encouraging the parents to put ambition in children, so thereby they become ambitious. I want to be the highest in my class. The best school in this town I'm going to go to. I'm going to do tahfiz as well. I'm going to read Bukhari as well. All will not be done 100%. I understand it is impossible. There is so much needed to do. But at least some of us should do some of the things. The Muslims are back. Muslim world, you look at the world, Muslim world is the least educated in the world. Muslim world is the least educated. And we're always begging from the West for more. And when you have the lower hand, you don't have the dignity and honor. And this is the condition of this ummah. So beside being religious and knowledgeable and sincere, we need some strong education. Second point, we need strong family values. Children, how the family runs, it has a profound impact on the mind of the children. Children fighting all the time, arguing, family breakdown, this has a negative impact. Sometimes it will happen. It did happen in the time of Prophet ﷺ. Yes, that's true. But we should try to minimize it. How do we do it? Before the marriage even starts, there should be strong vetting process for the marriage. It cannot be a spontaneous thing, marriage. It has to be well thought, well planned, well designed. That's why the family, inshallah, will last long. Children will see value in the family, and they'll become in their head, will be good educated, inshallah. Last not the least, people who have the money, they should support the masajid, not here, all over the Muslim ummah with their resources. People are educated, give some contribute to education. People are to have hafiz of Quran, do tahfiz program. People understand fiqh, teach the fiqh. There has to be education, in Islamic institutions, in Islamic schools as well. So the masajid should be a center, time of Rasulullah. People get educated, study of Tawheed, study of Sunnah, study of Tafsir, study of Fiqh, study of Sirah. There has to be continuous classes. That is the only way a nation can grow. Secular study and religious, both. And we'll have little time for other things. But we have to do this to survive in this dunya and make the deen of Allah dominate around the world. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give us the tawfiq to understand and benefit from it. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا اسرافنا في امرنا وثبت اقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم احسن عاقبتنا في الامور كلها واجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الاخره. اللهم اعز الاسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر لاخواننا المستضعفين في الارض يا رب العزه والجلال يا رؤوف يا كريم. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا اسرافنا في امرنا وثبت اقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اقيموا الصلاه رحمكم الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا استقيموا اعتدلوا صد الخلل. Please make your line straight. Please fill up the gaps. Please come forward. Brothers may be outside in the hot weather. Assalamualaikum ilaykum. Istaqim. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وابشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون. نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون نزلا من غفور رحيم. ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين. ولا تستوي الحسنة ولا السيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم. وما يلقاها إلا الذين صبروا وما يلقاها إلا ذو حظ عظيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله. استغفر الله. استغفر الله.
Assalamu alaikum. Brothers, can we please use the back door and leave the front door for the sisters, inshallah? Sheikh, thank you so much for the wonderful khutbah. That was great, inshallah. May Allah give us the benefit of it, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, the masjid need your help. As we all know, the heat waves that is going on nowadays and trying to keep the masjid comfortable for everybody, as we all know, is hard. We have all these air conditions cracking for 24 hours. We need your help to pay the bills, inshallah. Do not leave the masjid without putting something in the bucket. It's very, very important. Nobody's going to keep the masjid going with that apart from us. We have to do it. It's our responsibility, and we have to do it. Like the Sheikh was saying, if you have the money, support the masjid. Support the masjid is the most important thing that we all can support, inshallah. So please do not leave without putting something in the bucket. Thank you all so much. The sisters downstairs, please do your part. The masjid need your help, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, I might go back depending on